Hi, everyone. My name is Jessie. Thank you so much for joining us today for finishing with Continuum 2019 for Avid. We're excited to have Tal, our special guest presenter, and Vin, our product specialist for Boris Effects, here with us today. Tal is a veteran online editor and colorist with tons of reality TV and film credits. He's currently a member of the No Other Way Productions, which is a full-service post-production facility in the heart of LA. No Other Way is owned by Alex Katz, who's the showrunner for shows like The Biggest Loser and World of Dance. Today, we'll be covering topics including how to easily add stunning real-time motion graphics with particle illusion. You'll learn how to use Mocha's award-winning tracking and masking tools to drive parameter effects like lens flares, which is new to Continuum 2019. Also new to Continuum 19, our Title Studio has added image processing shaders like glows and presets directly so inside the interface itself, so you can quickly build broadcast-ready titles. We'll look at Tal's go-to filters for fixing imperfect footage, which he uses daily. And finally, you'll find out why you want to use the new Boris Effects Application Manager. If you have any questions during the course of the webinar, simply type in your question, hit send, and we'll do the rest. The questions panel is located inside the interface itself. If you stay till the end of the webinar, you can win big. We are giving away a 1-year subscription to Avid Media Composer, a 1-year subscription to Continuum, a 1-year subscription to Sapphire, and a 1-year subscription to Mocha. Finally, to thank you for joining us today, we're offering 15% off individual product purchases of Continuum, Sapphire, and Mocha. The coupon code to use on our web store is WebJan19. And if you'd like to join our community, you can visit us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Just give me 1 second, and I'm going to hand it off to you, Tal.
Okay. All right. I'm seeing on my laptop my screen, so we are good. Hi, everybody. As Jessie mentioned, I'm an online editor and a colorist, and I do finishing work on a bunch of reality, mostly reality competition shows. These are just some of the shows that I worked on in the last couple years. I'm going to show you some stuff from this awesome show that I was very lucky to work on. What the Fit with Kevin Hart. It's on YouTube. And let's dive right in. So one of the things that I do in my work all the time is as I color and finish the show, there are a whole lot of edits in these shows. Usually it could be 1,200-1,300 per hour of television. So need to go through things fast without compromising quality, which is super important. So I'll point out a few things that I use all the time. I'm a huge fan of Boris Effects. And I was beyond giddy when I saw Mocha getting incorporated in it. One usage that happened, one thing that I end up using all the time is we get close to finish the show and then we get that blur list. It's quite dreaded, but it's just a part of finishing. And I just want to give you a very quick example of how easy it is to do, especially when you use Mocha. So here's a shot. It is a moving shot. Audience, this was shot outside. These are people on Venice Beach. And we finished the show. I'm sure there was some sort of a big poster of release. If you're around here, you allow us to use your face. But then, of course, legal shows up at the end of the process and says, you know what? We totally got the signature, the signature for this guy, but we're not sure about this guy, this lady, and this lady. So an effect that I use all the time now is witness protection, BCC witness protection. I throw it on the next track. We get a little blur, and I jump straight into my favorite, which is Mocha. Let me just because my screen is adjusted to be huge for this webinar. So allow me to just adjust my screen here a little bit. Here we go. Okay, so here's the shot. This is the new Mocha interface, which is has this new simplified interface. Sorry, let me just do this. Okay, this is the new simplified interface for Mocha, which has arrived in the latest version. Mocha is now Boris FX planar tracker, and it's now a part of pretty much almost all of BCC effects. I need to blur her, her, and him. So I'm just going to draw these circles, which is a brand new addition, and this guy. Okay, that was that. 3 circles. I'm going to track them first. As I mentioned before, the shot is a moving shot. Their faces are moving, not much, but in the past, the way to do it is, at least the way I would do it, is Avid, paint effect. I do one, I track it. I do another circle, I track it. And it was always a pain to try and really dial in the faces. And here we are done with all 3 tracks. I'm going to go back to that first frame, that keyframe. I'm going to zoom in. If you're not familiar with Mocha, I cannot recommend enough getting familiar with it. It is a phenomenal tool, and it is becoming easier and easier to use. It used to be kind of the domain of, big feature film people. What I'm going to do now is something that I love to do, which is I'm on a Mac, so Command A, I select all of those points. I'm going to switch back to classic view, and I'm going to adjust the edge width. Kind of give it just a little bit of love here. I'm holding the Z button, zoom back out. I'm holding the X button, and I'm going to adjust this guy. And you know what? I think that I'm pretty happy with him. I'm sure if Mary Poplin, the Mocha guru, is watching right now, she is not happy with me. But again, I need to go through 2,000 shots a day finishing. Usually it could be hundreds of these blurs. So this is close enough, and I am done tracking 3 faces. And here is the blur. What I love about witness protection, which I started using fairly recently, is let's feather those masks just a little bit. I'm a big fan of 8. So now that I'm outside of Mocha, everything is moving together. So you know what? The client comes in and they're like, you know what? Can we just blur it a little more? Like, oh, okay, we're good now. And then the client says, you know what? Let's just not use blur. Let's use mosaic. And here we are. Just one click, everything is changing across the board. It changes consistently, and let's just render this real quick. This is something I discovered when I was preparing for this webinar, is how fast the render in this latest version of Mocha, of BCC is. I believe this thing is about 4 seconds, 3 seconds long, and we are done. That's it. Moving on, next shot. This is something that would have taken me probably about 4 or 5 times when I would do it in Avid. And it's just a total lifesaver. Blurring faces. Let's move on. What I wanted to point out as I go, I work a lot in BCC image restoration, doing online and finishing. This is kind of the go-to module of tools. So the next thing I want to show is Remover. Remover is another great tool. So we just saw blur. Another thing that happens all the time is we finish the show, and as we screen it, the client point out, it's like, you know what, this Air Jordan logo, not great. The go-to would be to blur it, but blur is noticeable, sometimes more than others. Here is Remover, which is the tool that I use on everything that I do all the time. So instead, what we're seeing right now is clone spot. I'm going to move to clone shape. What that does is basically turn on Mocha as the go-to tool for this. Here we are again. I'm going to move myself back to Essentials to make life easy. Here we go. Here is circle again. I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to draw a small circle around it. Command A to select all of those little points. Go to classic and plus plus. And now I'm at the beginning of the timeline and I'm just going to track. This is ridiculously fast process and I'm done. I'm saving. Now, it seems that nothing has changed. The reason is that I need to move offset. So where do I want to copy onto what I just painted? And I just went right below. I'm going to do what I did before. Sorry. Feather, let's put it at 6, and I'm done. Now, here's the beauty of this thing. Sorry, guys. Let's make sure that we are saving to the same place all the time. The beauty of this thing is the beauty of remover. There are different production elements. This logo would be one of them. Water bottles left behind, cameraman. Remover is a phenomenal tool. What this just did is normally one would blur it. But when you pull out this remover tool and start doing hiding elements or removing elements with remover, it shows that you can do it better. And doing it better is one of those things that can keep our clients with us. And sometimes there's limitation. They have to go to a different post facility, use another editor, and then the other person doesn't know how to do just that, what we just did with remover in 3 seconds, and then they're like, "Hey, Tal did it. Why can't you do it?" And then they come back, which is great. Another example of remover is this little shot. I'm not actually going to do it. I already did it. So you finish the shot. We're screening the show, and it's like, oh, you know what? Pepsi's our sponsor or whoever, so we can't really leave that Fanta logo in there. Boom, we're done. This took just as long as doing the Air Jordan, and I just redesigned the drink, and Fanta is gone. So instead of blurring something that you kind of can see through, and here we go, done. I want to show something else that Mocha is doing really well, and that is tracking elements into the shot. So let's say I don't have a shot that matches exactly what I want to show, but let's say that there's a big light right here on this palm tree, and the director wants to have a flare showing out of it. So let's go to light, and let's go to lens flare 3D. And here's a lens flare. This is something that I use all the time, this FX browser, because there are hundreds of presets throughout the software. So I'm going to just, let's say, pick this one. Okay, that looks like a light. I'm going to apply that, and I'm going to put it on that tree. It's like, okay, let's say that there is a big stand with a light there, and there's a flare in the frame, but the shot's moving. And what I really want is to have that flare on that tree. No problem. I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to enable Motion Tracker Mocha. I'm going to launch it, and here is this new. I'm going to go to Essentials to make life easy. Here's this new tracker, and I'm going to say track here and look for where the tracker is working here, and I'm going to track. The shot is blurry, the shot is moving, the ball does not go through the point, which is a good thing. But so I got a full track out of it, and I'm just going to shrink this a little bit. This is the full interface, and as you can see, solid track. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to play it. And you say, wait a minute, it's not working, right? You are correct. It is not working. We need to turn on render legacy track. And it's a little off, so I'm going to bring it in with a little bit of offset. And now I'm going to play. And it's real time. That's the other beautiful thing about this. This is, if you're familiar with Avid, it's a green dot, which means a real-time effect. You will want to render it for final, but this is just a very simple example. If you have, sun in the frame, or a window that you want to flare, or um, this this new functionality of Mocha being used to track elements in the frame, elements of BCC that you add to the frame, is phenomenal. And you have those full tool and smart math behind the tracking that makes life so easy. Doing this, especially during the online session, it's obviously a great tool for offline, but doing these things during online is just, again, one of those things that can separate you from other finishers, which is a great thing for us as we utilize our art. Another thing that I encounter all the time. This is Kevin Hart and his trainer boss. Something that happens all the time. This show was shot in 4K. It finished in 4K for YouTube. And what happened is, a lot of times, is you start seeing dead pixels. Dead pixels are, I just want to point them out. Dead pixels are pixels that are dead in a camera sensor. They don't move, so the shot moves, but the dead pixel stays. A lot of times when they're dead pixels in 4K, you will not see them if you're looking at a 1080 monitor, but you will definitely see them in 4K. And what's even worse than you not seeing them is that QC, quality control, that happens after all 4K mastering for shows, is that it will get flagged. Now, it's not the end of the world if it gets flagged. We just need to know how to fix it, and fix it quickly. So Pixel Fixer, we are in BCC image restoration, Pixel Fixer. I'm just going to throw it on. Now, I have worked on this, so I know, by the way, this show had no dead pixels, so I had to generate these. But I know there's a bunch of them, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you notice, some of these 4 are actually over the person. So I'm going to create 4 different Pixel Fixer items to fix. So this is one. In the past, this was very painful to fix. So I'm going to make 4 of these points, and I'm going to bring them closer, because the only way to see the dead pixels is to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in, and here we are. So point, I just put it in there, and it just eliminates that dead pixel. 2, 3, and I thought I had another one. Let's see. Fixed. Ah, there it is. And I'm just going to play this. And you guys can see the crosshairs disappeared, and so has the dead pixels. It takes very little to learn how to use this. It's a phenomenal tool. There are adjustments on it, so you can make, as you can look on the left side of this, you can make it smaller or bigger, and but basically it's a phenomenal tool, gets used all the time. Another thing that I want to point out by using this tool, so dead pixels will exist throughout the show, wherever this camera is used in most cases, or definitely throughout the scene. So what I do is this, let's say, is camera 3. I'm just going to grab this pixel fixer effect, and now I have a preset. So I will say pixel fixer camera 1, and every time I have camera 1 throughout the show, boom, I throw that one on, and just like that, and a preset is in place. Now, so dead pixels, phenomenal tool. It's not new, it's been there for a while, but it's a go-to that I use all the time. All right, stabilizer. Stabilizer is another great tool in BCC image restoration. It's right there, optical stabilizer. So a lot of times this show, for example, was shot outside. It was all handheld, so it's not moving much, but it's definitely moving. So the director says while screening, you know what, can we eliminate the movement on this shot? I kind of changed my mind of how I want to do this. Optical stabilizer. And BCC kind of gives you what to do. Please click Analyze button to continue. Here's Analyze button. And here we go. This is 4K footage. We are looking at it at 1080. But BCC moves so fast now that I'm always impressed about how quickly. This is, again, something else that I do a lot of times actually in my session with the clients behind. Although my sessions in most cases are now focused on the screening of the show, but sometimes they stop, and it's always impressive to the client to see how quickly things can move. So the frame has been analyzed. I'm going to say translation, rotation, and zoom. I'm going to play it. And the shot is now rock solid. But what I do notice is because of the stabilizing, it's zoomed in a little too much, and kind of Boss's head is being cut out. So post-processing, and I'm just going to reposition the shot just a little bit here. And another thing is I'm going to change the quality to Magic Sharp. And let's see this puppy playing. So, boom, we're done. And you know what? Now that I'm looking at it, after stabilizing, after repositioning, I would like to adjust it just a little bit. So the shot is not going to shake. I'm going to add a keyframe at the beginning, a keyframe at the end. So the shot is going to is going to tilt just a little bit to keep everything framed correctly, but it's stabilizing. It's no longer shaking. Or the director says, you know what, we want to get Kevin doing its push-up at the beginning, easy enough to, easy enough to select the right keyframe and focus on Kevin, play the shot, we focus on Kevin, and as Kevin gets up, the reframing of the shot happens. So optical stabilizer, super handy, super great plugin to use. A trick that I learned fairly recently is change the quality to Magic Sharp, and it will maintain quality. We'll talk about that in a second on our next little thing that I'm going to show. Noise reduction. So one important thing that happens with 4K is people think, oh my God, I have all these extra pixels, the frame is big, I can totally zoom in and reframe my shots to my liking. This is great. Wrong. 4K is, in most cases, is shot 4K and broadcast 4K on streaming platform, on So what happened is it goes through a very strict QC. So if people start zooming in, it get kicked out by QC. It's like, wait a minute, something's off. This is zoomed in. Pixels are not as sharp as they should be. We're getting more noise when you zoom in. So when we started on this show, the client came in and said, how much can we zoom in? And there was a whole discussion in the room of like, you can't zoom in anything because it's 4K and it airs 4K. If you zoom in, you get all this extra noise. It's an issue. Here's a shot. This client specifically does not like to see production in the frame. And there's a sound guy hanging out there. Now the shot is, I'm going to unzoom the shot. Here's the shot. It's kind of obvious it's the sound guy. So we decided to zoom it in 20%. What happened is that we zoomed it in 20%, and now we have, I'm just going to zoom in, we have more noise. We see more noise. And again, when you kind of play the shot, you don't pay much attention to it. It's all good. But again, QC is the hurdle between finishing and broadcasting that comes in and wants to make sure that quality is as best as it can be. So what I told the client was, you know what? Why don't we throw in this little extra secret sauce, and we're going to throw in noise reduction. There's presets for noise reduction. What I really like is just get a little bit of spatial noise reduction. That's it. I did not touch anything else. Spatial uses, doesn't steal from other frames around, so it's very much contained to the shot. And so we ended up with our zoom in to the client reframe, so the client was happy, but we also ended up with less noise. I'm going to bypass it so you can see on Kevin's face, or basically on the girl's face, you can see the noise, and now the noise is muted down. And this passed QC with no problem. So this is a trick where if you are zooming in shots for reframing in 4K, this is a great way of utilizing a BCC plugin, and no one will know about it. So it's my special sauce, and I'm sharing it with you guys. Another great thing. Hopefully we are. I'm not speeding through things too much. Another great a great thing that I tend to use all the time is the client will put in a transition. It gets here, and they're like, can we pizzazz it just a little bit more? So, you know, we can have a regular dissolve there, which would be fine. Or the client says, you know what, is there anything else that we can do to kind of bring things up and make them kind of like a little bit more? So a transition that I absolutely love is light leaks. And I'm going to do this. And this is where the FX browser is great. You can kind of see things right there without applying them. Once Avid does it once, it kind of gets buffered so you can really see what's going on. Let's take a look at this one. Ooh, okay, great. And it shows you the history of things that you looked at. And here we go. Light leak transition. Just kind of throw it in, show the client. They like it, great. They don't like it, you can just go right back to a dissolve, or you can come up with other ones. Another one that I love is blur dissolve. And you know what? This one is kind of not as deep. And here we go. And again, there's just phenomenal. You can adjust the max of it and all these things. I got to tell you, in most cases, I use the preset. and the clients have not complained. But it's there for you. Again, I need to, in most cases, kind of move through things really fast. So glitch, cross glitch, I love that one. And effects browser. Oh, that one is a rendered effect. So very quickly, we're going to render it. Uh, tons of things to change. So literally at your fingertip. If this is your thing and you want to tweak things, by all means, knock yourself out. Just like that, and we're done. Let's see. I have damage TV. Damage TV dissolve. That one is another big favorite of mine. You see that a lot these days, in documentaries. And I just want to show you the presets because I absolutely love these. All sorts of stuff. You want kind of more of a VCR. I used to make these back in linear days by pulling the cables out. I swear to you. And now we have it right there in our Avid because we can't really pull the cables out anymore. And the last one I wanted to show, which is also one that is used all the time these days, is glow dissolve. Fast film glow dissolve. That's another very, very common one. You get to see it all the time. I was watching the Today Show this morning, and basically there was a transition on every edit, and every one of them was one of these. And this one, again, tons of options to change. You want to change the glow color. There's easily pull up the presets, or my favorite is the effects browser. So we'll go a little colder here, although we're in California and it's always hot. God bless them. There we go. Very quick transitions, completely adjustable. And it's just one of those things, as you know, you show things to your client and they're like, can we do something more? Or you come up with it, just throw it on. And I want to point out again, it's an Avid thing. You just grab that effect and throw it in there, and you just apply. And whatever effect you created, just get easily adjusted. And here we are. Transitions. Okay. Let's talk about particle illusion. Particle illusion is new in this, or I believe it is. Yeah, it's new in this version of BCC, and I start playing with it when I was a part of the beta, which was a great experience. Again, as a finisher, I don't really create these things. This is more the domain of the offline department. But this is something that was so easy to deal with that I really liked it. I'm still looking for ways to utilize it in the part of things that the part of the process that I do. I'm always very aware and cautious about adding things without client basically approving them first or presenting them to them. But the particle illusion plugin is so rich and so deep, but it's also so very much easy to use. So I just want to, I was kind of looking for things to utilize it in. I came up with a shot. This is from the same show. It's kind of like a beauty shot of palm trees, pans up. And I said, what can I do with this? So let us go to particles, particle illusion. I'm just going to throw it on. and I'm going to open the particle illusion UI. And okay, it opens up. So I am a complete, so this is the particle illusion UI. As I mentioned, I had to zoom in my screen a lot for you guys to see, so it's a little crunched together as a UI, but I want to show you something. I'm a complete sucker for fireworks. And this is pretty cool, kind of a launch of fireworks. The way to use it, I'm on the first frame of this thing, and I'm just going to click, and I'm going to hit play. So here is an emitter. I'm going to go to the middle of it. This is kind of small. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go to zoom, and I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to go to size, and I'm going to make it a little smaller. And I'm going to play it. Like, all right, this looks pretty good to me. Okay. But I also love when I look at my fireworks, I love the explosion. So I moved a little further down into the shot, and I'm gonna go look for an explosion. Ooh, okay, that's cool. Again, I was told yesterday, 3,500 um, uh, emitters in this thing, and some of them are just phenomenal. Oh, this one's kind of cool. I believe that Alan Lawrence, who's created this, created a whole ton of them, but also users. So where's this one? All right, that one's pretty cool. Let's try and use that one. So I'm halfway through my shot, and I'm just going to go throw another one. Let's go to the beginning, and let's play it. And here it comes. But again, this is kind of small. This is going to be firework burst new. Let's zoom it in. Okay. And let's get the size down a little bit so we see a little more of those details in there. Let's move it up maybe a little bit. And I'm going to make it faster, which I believe is life. I might be wrong on that. Maybe I need to make it more life. Yeah. All right. Done and done. Okay. Apply. And now I'm just going to play it in the Avid. Okay. So I got fireworks. These are cool. But they're in front of the tree. And so another thing that is part of particle illusion is how do you insert it? Alpha, apply mode, and apply mode, I'm just going to do normal. And this kind of looks better, in my opinion. Again, this is just very quickly to show you guys what this is about. What I want to do now is, the one thing I notice is that the shot's moving, but my fireworks do not. Okay, well, let's fix that. We have Mocha, pixel chooser, transform, and this is the world that we're living in. And we're going to go motion tracker, Mocha. I'm going to track the world, and I'm going to put this. I'm going to drag the emitter as well to, sorry. Okay, just bear with me. Again, I'm not using this too much, so bear with me if I'm a little off on my game here. I tracked from the middle of the shot, so I'm going to go back and track backwards. By the way, Mocha tracks forward, backward, tracked in sections. Amazing tool. by all means, play with it. It's phenomenal. I got a track going. What I do need to do is offset myself down and offset myself to the right. And here's my fireworks. Track to the moving camera. Done. Again, I just want to point out, I'm going to start this a little lower. So offset Y a little more. This is something that you can do, as you saw here, in 2 minutes. So it's just scratching the surface of this unbelievable tool. And another thing that you can very easily do, let's say that I am over the tree. I'm going to offset back to the left. And like, how can I get it behind a tree? No problem, because we can launch Mocha. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another mask that goes behind, that basically handles the tree. So track forward, track backwards. I'm done. And I need to invert the mask, invert mask, and I need to feather it. And basically what we're seeing now is there is a mask going on that tree right now. I'm going to render this thing real quick. So what we just saw is basically in 5 minutes by somebody who barely uses this thing and never used any sort of particle engines in the past. Just playing around with this just made fireworks. Obviously, everything could use work to improve, but I made fireworks, I tracked them to a moving shot, and I masked out the tree, all in 5 minutes. This would be one of those things that the client says, oh, I love it. I would say, okay, please, when you come back tomorrow, you can see it really dialed in and looking good. And but it's great to just create something so fast. I want to show you guys a couple of other particle illusion elements that I kind of played with. This one is a HUD, basically a heads-up display. There's hundreds of these emitters, but I kind of made something that looks like a drone flying over the Santa Monica Pier. This took literally less than a minute, including tracking it to the wheel. Another one that I kind of really like because I'm a total sci-fi geek. I found this emitter, and it's called. I'm gonna go back to the UI. So here we go. This one is awesome. It's called Energy Beam One Shot. And in order to find preset to find an emitter, I'm just going to type in beam and just okay. I'm going to type in one shot. One shot. Here it is. So I found this one. I'm a total sci-fi geek, so I was like, "Ooh, this is cool." And I just put it on, placed it, applied it, and tracked it with Mocha. I'm just going to quickly render it just so it doesn't jiggle for us. I think the shot is 6 seconds and 22 frames long, 1080p, and it takes 20 seconds to render. This is a full-on particle emitter. It blows my mind, seriously. And again, this one is tracked to the shot. And here we go. It blows my mind that it can do stuff like that. So I absolutely love this thing. And it just kind of, the more you play with it, the more you look at the quality of these emitters, the more it just begs for you to use them, um, because they could be anything. Sorry, anything from an element in your titles or your shot, or as you can see, you have your sci-fi um, uh, show that you're working on. This could be an element of out of a a lower third for all we know. It's there for you to use, and of course there's bazillion different things that you can adjust it and make it wider and brighter and everything else in between. Um, I want to touch on, there's two more things that I want to touch on. Title Studio. So usually titles are something that is handled by a graphic department, especially on the shows that I work on. I'm very lucky. In most cases, those are big primetime shows. Graphic is something that is handled by a graphic company. We get templates and we get elements done. Um, but sometimes it would be great if we can go back in and change those elements. So what I mean is this. So let's say that I get this graphic um, that I put on the shot, uh, and then they say, you know what, we don't want it to say wipe shaders, we want it to say something else. So that would be something that is great if I can utilize it. So there is, I'm just gonna create this from scratch. Studio. Title Studio is in BCC 3D objects right here. I'm gonna throw it on and I'm going to show the browser. So it starts with Boris effects. And here is wipe shaders. I'm gonna play it, and basically it comes back. It's right here. So like we said, the client obviously doesn't want to say wipe shaders. Let's call it Tal's World and insert text. It's like I can already see I'm changing the text right here. I'm not in, I don't have to go into any special UI or anything else like that. I can already see that I should have capitalized all my letters. So let's try this again. Tal's World, insert text, apply, and play. Boom. I'm done. Uh, it's a title, but you know what? Because there's an apostrophe here, the S is too wide, there's too much space here. This happens all the time with the T and the A. There's just too much space here. If this was a graphic package, there's really nothing much you can do with it. It just comes from the graphic, and then we have to call them up. It's a 3-day turnaround. But here is something that we can do right here, right now. Now I'm going to launch the actual Title Studio UI. I'm going to go further into the timeline where I can see it. I'm going to select the text. Here it is. I'm going to put the cursor right there, hold the Alt key, and tweak, 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 and I am done. Now, here's something that I want everybody to know. I'm not a titling guy. This is not at all what I do. I'll fix spelling. I will check that the grammar is correct and consult with the client because English is my second language. So I never take responsibility for titles. But adjusting kerning, adjusting leading, which is what we just did, is something that I definitely do. It really irks me when there's some extra space. Title Studio allows you to make amazing titles. And it also allows you to adjust them really, really easily. So If you're the one creating those titles, you can save it as a preset and pull it up in a second. It comes with, I was told yesterday, 350 or 450. Vin will tell us in a second because he created a whole lot of them. But there's all sorts of uh, lower thirds and different time codes and credit roll, the Star Wars credit roll, all sorts of slates. These things are pre-made. They're there for you to utilize, which is phenomenal. Another thing that I found, again, just touching it very, very briefly, um, is how easy it is to tweak all these things so easily. So play with Title Studio. It's a phenomenal tool. Way better than Avid's title tool. So if you can start using it, it's always for me, it's always tricky, as I said. Titles come from graphics companies, it's existing templates. In most cases, I don't get to touch much, but this is a great tool at your fingertips. It's included in BCC, so knock yourself out. The last thing I want to touch on before my time is done is I want to jump back to Remover for 1 second. What happens a lot is I get a show and there is complicated removes or there are hundreds of them. So a lot of times what I do is I push these shots to be handled to my brother, who does a lot of that. He lives in Israel. So I take the shot, I put it on Dropbox, something like that, with instructions. My session is over because Israel is in a complete opposite side of the world. So when I finish my sessions, he just wakes up and he can start his session. But I have a Mocha license and I am limited with how many Mocha licenses I have. Boris now created this application manager. So I'm going to launch it. Here we go. So this is Boris Application Manager. I'm very lucky. I have Mocha, I have Continuum, I have Sapphire for Avid, and I have Sapphire for OFX. Thank you, Boris, very much for helping me out with all those. I'm a big fan. But what I want to point out is that the Application Manager will tell you when it's time to update, but it also will let you activate and deactivate your licenses very quickly and easily. So if I'm working on Mocha, I'm here during the day here in Los Angeles. I'm done at the end of the day. My brother is about to start his session. I can deactivate my license. He's in Israel. He can turn his license on. So we can utilize the same license in both sides of the world very easily as long as we don't work on them at the same time. Sometimes I don't need my license activated. So my brother can work on it 24 hours and then he complains to mom and so on and so forth. But this is something that I really wanted to show everybody that it's so easily to deactivate and activate your licenses from this new application manager. Very handy. Let me, I think this is it. Oh, I wanted to show everybody the resources. So borisfx.com, phenomenal resource. Jesse's going to talk about downloading test software and all that kind of good stuff. What I wanted to point out is Title Studio, again, something that was completely new to me, and I just started playing with it because I was preparing for this webinar. Has great resources, demo videos, and a whole lot of other stuff. You can make these crazy 3D titles on it. Go to the website, check it out, products, Title Studio. The other item I wanted to show was particle illusion. Again, on the website, great stuff, videos, explanation, how to. Seriously, I have not even touched 1% of this thing, and it really, like, look at this stuff. I think this is it. This is it for me. Jesse, if you want to take
Yeah.
over.
All right, thanks, Tal. That was awesome, as always.
Thank
Before
you.
I before I do anything else, actually, I have a question. Someone was asking what emitter from particle illusion you were using before you changed to the energy beam one shot. So just the
Uh,
example before that.
let's see. So we had the fireworks. Is that what we're asking? So,
I'm maybe she can respond. That was Kathleen. Um, I don't know how many examples you gave. If it was
so I
two or
had
three.
I had three examples. So the first one is the fireworks. We had the fountain, fireworks fountain. I'm gonna go in the middle. So this was the fountain, and this one is burst new 02. Um, then we had the HUD. The HUD is awesome. I'm going to launch the UI because HUD, I don't know why, but I was just, there's so many of these things. Um, and then further down, there's like drone stuff, um, and air to air missiles and air to ground missiles and all sorts of things like that, which are phenomenal. Um, uh, so there's like numbers and multi-number. This, as I said, I believe there's 3,500 of these emitters. Just take a look at it. It's and inspiration just flows because these things are so are there, and again, they're so easy to apply. So I just put it on, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm just going to apply it, and it's there.
It was the HUD. She thanks you.
It, okay, it was
Yeah.
the HUD. So you want to know specifically which HUD that one is? Um, I'm going to delete newscast. It's HUD air-to-air bank. So
Okay, thank
there
you.
we go. Sure.
Okay, and just coincidentally, Kathleen Goodsman, who asked that question, was the winner of the Avid Media Composer one-year subscription. David Cronin is the winner of the Continuum one-year subscription. Sarah Mangine is the winner of the one-year Sapphire subscription, and Andre Gallus is the winner of the Mocha Pro one-year subscription. Again, I just want to tell everyone the code to save 15% on our website. The code is WEB, as in webinar, WEB, Jan, the month January, and then 19, Web Jan 19. I'm just going to pass it over to Vin to see if he has any questions that popped up during the course of the webinar.
Thanks. Yeah, there were a couple that popped up, and I think a lot of them actually have to do with match grain, noise reduction. There were a few questions about adding grain back, and there is one of the filters that is available in Continuum is BCC match grain, and I was wondering, Tal, if you could just touch on that, whether or not you use match grain, or what your thoughts on that would be.
Honestly, I don't. I think let me type grain. I don't. The stuff that I work on with the type of shows that I do, there is there's no call for it. So this is another example of one of those things that if I get a call for it, I know that it's there, and I will dive in and start looking of how to utilize it. I know that the first thing that I will do is I will go to the presets, that there aren't on this one. So here, there are presets. Sorry, there are presets for. I assume this would be different types of film and stuff. But again, the type of shows that I do, it's all about making it as good as possible. So I don't really find a need to add grain in. A lot of times it's what we did with the noise reduction of cleaning it out. Yeah, but it's again, it's for me, I know that it's there. It's at the back of the mind. There are just hundreds of plugins, and what I would probably do if I get a call, if I need it in a show, I'll basically drop it in, start looking through the presets, tweak them if I need to, and hit the website of like, okay, how do I use this? There's and go from there, really, because there is always the great help files.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for those who just have a question about the match grain filter that's there, basically what it does is that it allows you to take sample the grain from another clip and actually place that on top of whatever you've worked on. So if you want to add grain back in, or if you need to get grain to match a different file, a different clip, that is exactly what you would use that for.
I did not know that.
Yep.
So if there is something I can say is that I am constantly learning. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I am in constant learn mode. We did a run through of this webinar yesterday, and I learned about 5 new things. So
the irony is I actually do all the templates, and today was the first day I learned about that leading trick that you used to adjust that. So
Jesse, all you.
Okay. All right, everyone. I just want to say thank you again for joining us today and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.